first of all, we want to welcome Dr. Beitler and his wife Danielle to Asheville. Thank you for driving up the mountain from Greensboro. Dr. Beitler rejoined the Republican Party as a candidate this year for Secretary of State of North Carolina in the 2012 election. He believes the present Secretary of State, Elaine Marshall, has not done and has an adequate job of facilitating business in North Carolina, which is one of her major tasks. Dr. Beitler is a former business professor at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, and anyone pursuing an MBA in business has either read his book, Strategic Organizational Change, Strategic Organizational Learning, or Rational Individualism, or has been a member of one of the impressive client lists who have attended his workshops for professional effectiveness. Dr. Beitler has a daily internet radio talk show, Free Markets. It's on Thursday at 10 o'clock a.m. An impressive archive of his programs exists on the internet. Dr. Beitler is an advocate for individual rights, for limited government, and for free market. His education includes an MA from Central Florida and a PhD from the Union Institute. Welcome, Dr. Beitler.
Thanks, Betty. Well, before I jump in here, Betty gave me a really good introduction, and it was very clear there about I'm running for the North Carolina Secretary of State position. And the reason I want to emphasize what the race actually was, I was in as you can imagine, this is a statewide race. So I'm traveling around the state, and I was in a small town about 2 weeks ago. Now, I'm not going to tell you what town this was, but after I was introduced, I walked up to the lectern, and as I was about to start, there was already an elderly gentleman in the back with his hand up. And I thought, well, I don't usually start off with Q&A, but okay, so I went ahead and I asked him, I said, yes, sir. And he looked at me with all seriousness and he said, so you're running against Hillary. And I stood there for a minute kind of dumbfounded, and I thought, what? And it dawned on me, no, I can't help you with Hillary Clinton, okay? That's a different office, and that's a federal office. I'm running for the North Carolina Secretary of State position. So I had to go in and tell him, well, no, sir, actually I'm running against Elaine Marshall, and had to talk a little bit about that. So what I thought I would do this evening, and now Betty said I have about an hour and a half, so that's all right, I know, 20 minutes. Okay, so what I thought I would do is, I know several of you already, but I thought I would tell you how I got involved in politics in the first place, and then tell you, and a couple of you already asked me this tonight, why Secretary of State? Okay, that's a good question. Why that particular race? So let me start off by winding the clock back a little bit first. I grew up in a Republican home, so I was a Republican all my life, and I used the terms like, limited government and the constitutions, the law of the land, and free markets and all those kinds of things, and just assumed that that was the way it should be, and I didn't give a lot of thought beyond that. Well, in 2006, 2008, that time frame, now I won't ask for a show of hands here, but I was one frustrated Republican. Anybody want to admit to that? Okay, yeah, okay, I got at least one hand, but I think the rest of you too were going, ugh. Okay, 2006, 2008, I felt like we were really getting off track. We were sounding more like the Democrats than the Democrats. That was not good. So as I thought about those things I always believed in, I thought, why do I believe these things? So as Betty said, I had already written a couple of business books, and I decided I'm going to go back and do some research into what did our founding fathers actually say? And all these people we quote, like Adam Smith and the Enlightenment thinkers and John Locke and these people, what did they actually say? And do I really agree with them, or was I just getting it secondhand somehow? So during that time, I started doing the research with no anticipation of it becoming a book. But after working on this for quite a while, I had a lot of research involved in this. And actually, my wife Danielle can attest to this. I was spending a lot of time in our gazebo.